Welcome everybody to our episode 3, season 2, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons discussion, for the second time because we failed this recording last time. So hopefully this time will go a little bit better, but now we're warmed up, we've rehearsed. So hopefully we'll be able to get our thoughts out more coherently as we go through this episode. Because this episode had a lot. As usual, I am with my Game of Thrones expert, this channel's resident Game of Thrones expert, Caroline, as we go through everything that happened in this episode. But overall, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was a really strong episode. I really like catching up with Damon. I really like catching up with Kristen Cole. I thought the end was a little bit of a harebrained scheme. I still thought it was a very strong episode overall.
I've heard a lot of people talking about this episode feeling slow.
Really?
And I both agree and disagree because so many things happened this episode and yet it feels like nothing moved forward.
Yeah.
So it's very strange that way.
I mean, the biggest action happens in the first scene with the Brackens and the Blackwoods.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a good transition right there. You're getting better at these recordings.
Yeah.
Look at you. So we open with a what is it called? A location shot of the Red Fork, which this is different than the Trident, right? Where the Red Fork and the Trident are two different rivers.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm only the expert for this channel, not an expert in real life.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, this Trident sees a lot. I was about to be like, because if it is the same, I'm just like, oh, this gets a lot of blood.
Yeah.
This water gets a lot of blood in it. But
safe to drink water with blood in it? Probably not.
Probably not. But we open with a stretch of the old mill, and we get introduced to two young knights from both House Bracken and House Blackwood. And we actually were introduced to the conflict between these two houses way back in season 1 when that Blackwood boy tries to do a marriage proposal to young Rhaenyra.
Yeah, the little poor baby. And the Bracken is like, oh, you don't know anything, you child.
And then he kills him. The Blackwood kills him.
The kid kills, right?
Yeah, the kid kills him, pieces him up. If I was Rhaenyra, I'd be like, hey, let me go take another look at this, all right? At 12, he just killed a grown man. Let this guy trade up a little bit. He might be the next Jaime Lannister.
Exactly. You never know. No, but she had the hots for her uncle, so couldn't go down that.
No, she had the hots for Kristen Cole, even worse. Even worse for everybody.
But both the knights, I think what really struck me is how excited they are to fight and die. Because I just feel like this society is so based on war.
They were definitely waiting for a reason to fight, a cause, and the infighting between the Greens and the Blacks have given it to them. Where, in reality, how much do they really care about whether Aegon is the true king or whether Rhaenyra is the true king? They're kind of seeing this as an ability to expand their territory. Specifically, I imagine the Blackwoods as they used to be kings. And so, there's this, desire to go back. I mean, I imagine there's always this desire to go back to, when you were a powerful entity. Now you're a smaller house in the in the Riverlands. You're not even the Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. You're just looking for an ability to expand. Both these houses see that the Tully's house is weak. And apparently that's just what always happens to the Tullys, unless you're Brynden Tully, the only good one, because all the rest of them have issues.
Fuck, yeah.
The men of this Tully house are not cooking. That's for sure. I don't know. People have mixed opinions on Catelyn, but
I love Catelyn. I thought she was a great character.
I mean, she's fine. I like Lady
Stoneheart more. She's average. Oh, Lady Stoneheart. Oh, they really messed up by not bringing Lady Stoneheart into it.
Yeah, it definitely, like you were saying, shows the eagerness of society to go to war, shows a couple of themes of the episode in this, which is that young men want to die, young men are looking for an excuse to fight.
And they haven't gotten the chance to fight in about 100 years.
And then the other thing it shows is that nobody knows nobody knows what caused this conflict between the Brackens and the Blackwoods.
Okay, so this, I did do a little reading on this. I think it's because you said the Blackwoods used to be kings.
Yeah.
So apparently the Brackens like overthrew the Blackwoods a long time ago. But at this point, they've been warring for so long, nobody actually remembers who threw the first stone. They've hated each other for so long that I forgot what the old strong guy said, but the answer to that is lost in time because they've hated each other for so long.
And this idea of like who threw the first stone, who actually caused this to happen, is actually touched upon again in the next scene on Dragonstone, where Rhaenys is having a conversation with Rhaenyra about who started this war. And Rhaenys, I think, is both of our favorite characters so far in the show. And the way she was just like, was it when Aegon took your throne? Or was it when Aemon killed Luke? Or was it when
Luke took Aemon's eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just like that she puts it into this perspective of like, at this point, these like small inconsequential actions have built up into a massive problem. That
the Battle of the Burning Mill, which has killed so many people that I forgot what the Lannister says, but he's something like, I don't even think we can call this a victory because losses have been so great.
And the other thing that's interesting about that is that we're seeing the call to war being taken out of Rhaenyra's hands and out of Aegon's hands. These two knights have taken it upon themselves to start the first battle, to declare first blood in this war before either side is given their own official declaration.
Yeah, I think it's like a very clear theme of the show is that Alicent is not in control. Not even Rhaenyra is in control. Nobody's in control of this. It's just things are happening and the domino effect is starting and nobody has control over the situation.
Yeah. I mean, even the dragons, like when two dragons go to war, the world burns. Like it's there's not even a winner in this situation.
Like Aemon was not trying to kill Luke, I believe. But he just wasn't in control of his dragon. Like so many accidents and mistakes and problems pop up that they're just headed towards war and nobody can stop it. Despite, I mean, there are people on the Green Council that do want to stop it.
Well, one thing that I did want to touch on before we move to the next scene, which is the small council, because that scene that's hilarious. Everything about that is like old. It's old Game of Thrones humor where it wasn't supposed to be funny. It's just like the oddity of the scene. But because you brought up Luke and his death, you know, we get to see Jace's view on this war because he is starting to get concerned that his mom is not ready for this war. Like he doesn't approve of Eric and Eric being buried together. He doesn't understand the idea of following orders because in this world, as you like talked about last episode, the smaller folk or the people that aren't princes or crown princes or kings or queens don't get to just do what they want. They have to follow orders. And so
I also think the whole Black Council in general seems to side with Jace in the fact that, oh, war should be happening. You need to move. We need to be starting to prepare for a war.
Which when we get to that scene, I do want to know your thoughts of when they were saying like to get Rhaenyra out of there. Do you think that they intended her to take Jace, or do you think they wanted Jace to act as the acting leader of that council? Because
I'm sure half of them are split either way. I mean, they all are grasping for their own power. I think my beef with the whole Black Council is I have no idea who any of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Greens, I can recognize the Lannister. I know who, like, I just kind of know who's sitting on the Green Council. I have no idea who's sitting on the Black Council at all. I don't know any of those men, and they just seem to be dumb to me. I mean, that one guy was just like, send all your dragons out now.
Yeah. What are we doing?
I mean, it's like no forethought. It's just dumb. So I really wish they would go into the Black Council or, because I do want to know who those men are and what they like. And what they like, why are they at that table?
And so moving from the Black Council to the Green Council, we get to find. Oh, this scene. Okay. Clearly, the director was trying to show stress. Okay, but like we all hate Kristen Cole so much that him being stressed is funny to us. Like this man is like hyperventilating over his chair. He's late to the small council meeting. He is looking like, how did I get into this mess? This is awful. Like, not only has he learned, he must have learned by now. I mean, he does, because it's mentioned as soon as they enter that Eric is dead, but he's also the hand of the king on a plan that failed. And he knows he has no idea what he's doing. Like, this is not what he was made for.
He's the definition of failing upward, and the amount of shade he gets.
I'm so glad. I'm glad that every single member of the Kingsguard is like, I'm done.
Yeah. Everybody on that table knows he fucked up. And they know that because he messed up, he has failed upward, and they scorn him for that.
Like, and I know that, like, okay, if you are someone who was like just a knight and you worked really hard, and then you finally get to be one of the like most prestigious positions with like being a white coat, being king, you're not going to give it up. But like, I would have found it hilarious if they all Barristan meet him. Like, if they're all just like, nah, not for you.
Yeah.
And
no, they still let him take charge of that meeting and put forth another harebrained scheme.
Oh God, that was awful. But one thing that I did want to talk about is that you can see, like, the shade Kristen Cole is getting is so justified, right? Because, like, even in Westerosi culture, where, like, people volunteer to be the vanguard and stuff, like, to just go out there and die, it's not like they want to die. Like, there is trust in the fact that it's, like, the commander is supposed to try to keep you alive while also, like, protecting the royal family.
Yeah.
And now they just saw their commander literally send someone on a suicide mission. It's understandable that none of them really want to support Kristen Cole, because they're just like, this leader doesn't have my best interests at heart. He does not care if I die. And it's so different, going back for a second, to like what Rhaenyra was doing, where like how the Starks always had to like swing the sword if they were going to do an execution. Rhaenyra is standing there, and granted, she's not with the shovel throwing dirt into the grave, but she is putting some dirt into Eric's grave with her own hands, almost like saying like, yeah, it's my responsibility to keep the people that serve me in good positions, and I let this person die. Or it is my responsibility that this person died in the line of service. Whereas Kristen Cole takes no accountability whatsoever.
I mean, at that point, it's the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
He's done this harebrained scheme. He's become Hand of the King, and now he has to stick by that decision and then put forth another awful decision.
Yeah, and he doesn't even want to be.
No one except Aegon.
He doesn't even want to be Hand, because like he doesn't even wear the badge. Like, he just sticks it on his chair.
But like, I think he's proud, at least, to have risen so high. If he didn't want it, why didn't he turn it down? Why didn't he look at Aegon?
Could he? In that situation, could he?
I mean, Ned Stark threw off his hands like badge. So did Tyrion.
Right, but Ned Stark had a different relationship with Robert. Like, he genuinely believed, even when they were talking about it in like that chapter where he and Catelyn are together, and then he's just like, oh, I'm gonna refuse King Robert. And then Catelyn's like, don't do that, because kings are not like normal men. They'll take this as an insult in time. And Ned is like, no, I'm so confident that Robert and I are boys that he's going to be upset. He's going to curse him at me. He's going to say all of these things, but he's not going to harm me or my family. I know, like, he is steadfast in that belief. Like, Kristen Cole doesn't have that belief in Aegon. They're not friends. I mean, like, they're friends of convenience right now, but they're not like boys. They didn't go to war together, you know? So it's like, it's definitely a different situation. Or even Tyrion, where Tyrion, when he threw his Hand of the Queen pin down in season 8, which, when he threw away his Hand of the Queen pin, he was expecting to die. He wasn't expecting to die. Like,
that makes sense, that Kristen felt pressured into accepting this role and now is doing. But like, that's like the thing. Wouldn't you want to do more listening if you're in this job, this new raise that you're not prepared for. Instead, he just puts forth this dumb idea that Alicent is not thrilled about, that most of the Green Council is not thrilled about, but the people that are thrilled about it is Aegon, and that's kind of who matters.
And then there's also, I mean, I think he's trying to prove himself with something, because I don't know, his whole relationship with Alicent right now is very strange. Like, I don't know if there's any aspect of like, whoopsies, I accidentally removed your dad from this position, but let me prove that I can handle it, or something. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, but I'll tell you, one person who is really into this chaos is Aemond. Aemond is loving it, dude. He is having fun, which...
I don't think he's having fun. I think Aemond's a tortured character, and I think that whole smiley, laughy thing is a mask.
But you want to know what this reminds me of? Actually, because I was thinking about it. I didn't say it in our first recording of this, but I was thinking about it, right?
You totally did. You said it reminds you of, I can't remember. I said he reminds me of Theon Greyjoy.
No. Yes, but that's not necessary. That's who Aegon reminds me of.
Okay.
But no, I was thinking about, like, you remember in the last episode with Daemon smiling at the Black Council? Like, could it be that this is Aemon's, like, a subtle signal of Aemon being like, I'm just gonna do my own thing, like what Daemon's doing for the Blacks? Like, he's just like, all of this planning in this room doesn't matter to me because I'm gonna go rogue anyway. Like, I don't care.
They're both rogues, I feel like, if their D&D thing is a rogue. But actually, Daemon's, and I don't know if George R. R. Martin obviously did this on purpose. Daemon does seem like a mirror of Aemon's, because if you take Daemon and you take the D in front of his name, you just flip it to the back. All
it's the same name. Yeah.
And so I do think these two characters are very similar.
And so, yeah, like I was saying, just because I thought it was a great point, this is very much reminding me of, like, Aegon very much reminds me of Theon, with the whole, like, we're gonna declare war, and then Theon's like, yeah, I got your back, Rob, and then, like, Mr. Ewan's just like, we're gonna declare war in the Godswoods? What are we doing?
Now, like...
But I do love, that call the banners scene is fantastic. It's Rob's peak. Actually, Rob's peak is King of the North, but it's one of Rob's peaks. But, so Kristen Cole's plan, you've mentioned that's a harebrained scheme. You've mentioned that it's idiotic. And it is. Okay. He's under the impression that he can take Harrenhal with just like 12 men or whatever, and men he will allegedly gather to his cause as he marches through the Riverlands.
Right.
And he does not want to bring a dragon because he is hoping to do this like under cover of darkness. He's trying to do this as like a stealth operation.
Right. But I think not bringing dragons, I mean, I guess he doesn't know that Daemon's already there.
He doesn't know that Daemon's there. He doesn't know that Bela is doing reconnaissance, which I don't know how. This cannot be Bela's first time flying over there, right? Like, there was no message, like, dragon in the air. Like, I don't know.
Maybe she was just flying too high for anybody to notice.
I guess that's possible, but yeah.
But either way, I don't know, because last episode, I know Otto was removed his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Did Alicent hook up with Kristen Cole knowing that information?
After. Yeah. Goes, oh, no. Because the last scene of the episode is Alicent leaving her crying son, right? To go have sex with Kristen. That's the last scene. The last scene is that hilarious, Father, I've sinned.
So I'm thinking that they're still sleeping together, maybe. I mean, she does give him her favor, despite hating him the whole time during the small council meeting.
Well, I think Alicent currently, right now, her best play is to try to puppeteer Kristen Cole still, because for some reason, Aegon respects Kristen.
Oh, so like using Kristen
as like her mouthpiece to get to Aegon.
Well, I mean, once Aegon, doesn't go, Alicent introduces her brother, Sir Gawain.
Yeah.
as a very obvious ploy, I thought, to just spy on Kristen.
Something is happening here. I think, so there's like two plans that I think kind of contradicted each other here, right? So there's either she wants to use Kristen Cole as a mouthpiece to like influence Aegon, or she wants Kristen Cole removed to put her father back into position. And so in order to do that, she is putting Gwaine there to do something to derail Kristen's plan to make him look like he failed.
That's devious. I mean...
But is she built like that? Like, I don't know. Is Alicent...
That's like the thing. That flat has just so many holes in it. Like, she wants... I mean, I think she does want Kristen Cole to succeed. I don't think she's... I mean, I think she wants his army to succeed. I don't think she wants that army to go downhill. But I don't know. I really wanted to like Gwaine. I really did.
But he ends up...
I don't know. He just seems like kind of like a untested, very annoying, egotistical child.
He's kind of like... He kind of has like this brazenness to him where he's just like, I am literally the king's uncle. Try me. Like, which I have a feeling they don't have a relationship. So he's just doing this based off of name. Like, I don't think Gwaine and Aegon actually have any sort of relationship at all. But he's just hoping that, like, you know, I am related to the king, so I'm untouchable and I can disobey orders because the king will side with me. Which Gwaine, I think, is wrong about that. Because I think that Aegon has more love for Kristen Cole than he has for his own uncle.
Yeah, for sure.
But their plan immediately goes astray because as they are marching, there's that conflict about Gwaine trying to pull rank over Kristen Cole, and they're caught in the open field. And as much of an idiot as Kristen Cole is in every other matter, like, he's not an idiot. Like, he's not an idiot when it comes to war and fighting. Like, he immediately understands we are in a compromised position. We need to get under coverage. Go. And they barely escape Moondancer and Bela, who's flying overhead doing reconnaissance.
And it's a good thing that Bela and Rhaena are so level-headed. Because if anyone else was on that dragon, I mean, even Rhaenyra, I feel like that whole force would be burned down.
Bela's weird, though. That situation is weird. Because either she had an order of do not engage at all.
Yeah.
Because the order could not have been scare them. Like, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way Rhaenyra gave that order. So she kind of went a little bit rogue, but then, like, pulled herself back at that last minute and showed some restraint. Because I was worried that she was going to kill Gwaine. And, like, that was going to heighten the conflict even more between Alicent and Rhaenyra because now you've killed my brother.
Your brother, yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, as we see by the end of the episode, there's no love anymore between them.
Oh my God.
So I honestly am on the side. I just think Rhaenys should have killed everybody. I think Bela should have killed anybody. Maybe I sound like a member of the Black Council, but at this point, war is happening.
Do what needs to be done.
Rhaenyra needs a win.
But moving from Bela to her sister Rhaena, Rhaena gets a really important duty, like a really good scene, but it's a tragedy that she isn't able to, like, fully grasp how important she is to Rhaenyra.
Because she's so upset. She thinks that because I don't have a dragon, a fully grown dragon, because I have no use to you on the battlefield, you're sending me away to go babysit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is not the case.
No, like, Rhaenyra has clearly made Rhaena the designated survivor of the Blacks. She has tasked her with raising her two sons and Joffrey, or her two youngest sons and Joffrey.
Yeah.
And also told her to guard the dragon eggs, which the director of the episode did come out and say that 3 of those dragon eggs are Dany's dragon eggs, which I think is different than it's presented in the book because...
Yeah.
But because I think Dany's dragon eggs are from a dragon called Dreamfire.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
And Dreamfire's eggs were like smuggled away by Alyssa Farman to go travel like the world, like she wanted the money. So I really think that is definitely going to play a part. That's going to be a scheme that's going to happen in future episodes. But I think it's funny because in the first episode, Jace came back and said, Lady Jane will support us if we get a dragon. Like if we give her a dragon, she will support us fully. And actually, Rhaenyra gives her 2 dragons.
But 2 worthless dragons right now. They probably can't even cook meat.
They're babies. I mean, they're bonded to Joffrey. So Taraxis is bonded to Joffrey. Stormcloud is bonded to Aegon. But they're baby dragons. I mean, if I'm Lady Jane, I'm pissed off.
Because you want to know what I think would have made more sense. I mean, I guess it doesn't make a ton of sense because... So there's 2 parts of my mind that's like into... I think there is benefit to have sent Jace to the Eyrie. With his fully grown dragon, because he's the crown prince. The Eyrie are literally bonded in blood to that side of the Targaryens. So, like, there could have been some benefit there. But then, of course, there is you want the crown prince to learn from the current monarch to understand, like, how to handle these situations. So it's, like, logistically, safety-wise, it would have made more sense for Jace to go there. But...
I mean, he's not fully grown. I think he's like 16.
I mean, he's fully grown. Jaime Lannister was like a Kingsguard by that time. So,
I mean, that Bracken guy had already killed by that age.
I've been rereading Game of Thrones, the first book. And it's just like when they're in the dueling yard and Rob's like, we'll use tourney swords. And then the Hound is like, I killed a man at 12. Kids, like 16 is old in this.
So age doesn't mean that much, true.
Yeah, 16 is old.
And I do understand the importance of keeping Jace close to her to rule and learn how to rule.
But, like, Rhaena does finally seem to understand the honor later when we cut back to them and we see Rhaena getting ready to leave for the Vale. Because...
Dragon eggs.
She sees that, she has been given 4 dragon eggs. So, if we know that 3 of them are supposed to be Dany's, it makes me wonder what happens to the 4th.
Yeah. I think she will eventually get her dragon.
But I really wanted her. So, like, there's a dragon called Vermithor who's, like, really big. One of the bigger dragons in the world. Used to be Jaehaerys's dragon. Right. And because dragons can grow unimpeded so long as they're not killed. Like, he's huge. He's, like, 100 years old. So he's, like, a Balerion, the Black Dread size or something.
Or Vhagar.
Yeah, like, and I think that Rhaena getting on that would be really awesome, like to go from having no dragons to having one of the most powerful dragons. But I do know who Vermithor goes to, so unless they change it from the books, like we're not gonna get it. But
we already saw Aemond ride Vhagar, and that was a wonderful scene. I don't think they're not gonna repeat that, unfortunately.
I mean, they have the money too. That budget is expensive.
Yeah.
But then we cut from Rhaena and Baela, the 2 level-headed daughters of Daemon, to Daemon himself, who is acting like a maniac, arriving at Harrenhal, which is key to both teams' operation.
Clearly, it's a very important castle, despite being in such disrepair.
And the whole idea of it being important is that it can hold the largest host in the castle.
Right.
But the thing is that Harrenhal, this importance of Harrenhal being stressed is odd to me, right? Because Harrenhal, at its full glory, in its like full defenses, like if it's actually built up, I totally understand it. Because in the lore episodes that used to be attached to the Game of Thrones episode, there's a really good narration where it talks about how like 100,000 men could have marched on Harrenhal and all 100,000 would have been repelled because it was an impenetrable fortress.
Right.
But we also learned that the reason Harrenhal is the way it is because it can be destroyed by dragons. And so, like, if we're talking about it in, like, not the modern age, but, like, the Game of Thrones time period, right? Then a rebuilt Harrenhal would be super important because you don't have the dragons overhead. But in a world where dragons are still pretty common, kind of weird to put all this emphasis on Harrenhal. Like, what's to stop Vhagar from doing a repeat of what Balerion did to it? You know, like it's a little bit off.
I guess what's to stop Vhagar is Daemon and his dragon.
But Caraxes ain't big like that. He's not like Vhagar size.
So this is a spoiler alert, but we'll find out who wins that battle in future episodes.
Man.
But I think what's really important about Harrenhal is that it's close to King's Landing. It's a great leverage point. And both armies have identified that. And I think we will see a battle, at least next episode, between Daemon and Kristen's forces.
Unless Daemon gets out. Like, Daemon seems to be wanting to go see the Paramount, the Tully, what's his name, Grover? Grover Tully.
Yeah. All I know is that it's emphasized how old he is, and he can't control his bowels or talk or do anything useful.
So he wants to go over there and like remind him of the king's authority, but that seems to be his plan. But before all that, Daemon arrives at Harrenhal, and Harrenhal was currently the holdfast of the Strongs.
Yeah,
and we meet Simon Strong, who's the acting Lord Castellan of the castle, because technically Harrenhal's lord is Larys now.
Lord Larys, yeah.
But
sorry, Larys, Varys.
Yeah.
Both laughter whispers, both kind of shady. Struggle's real.
But yeah.
But he hates Lord Larys. He made that very clear.
He hates Lord Larys because he knows, or at least he believes he knows, that Harwin Strong, the one that everyone liked, died in foul play.
So at least one person's using his brain here.
Yeah, because he's just like, do you see how much it rains here? Do you see how damp it is? And you mean to tell me that, like, the heir died in a fire? Get real. You know, like, he's very much suspecting. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the Greens at all. And if it's nothing more than just killing Larys, he's on board. That's all he cares about. He just wants Larys dead.
But I thought it was, I mean, he used his brains apparently incorrectly to call Daemon's or what did he say? My prince?
Yeah, my prince. And then Daemon's like, nah, your grace.
I'm your grace now. Which I guess means that he views himself at least as an equal to Rhaenyra?
At least, but I almost feel like it's a power play. I feel like he wants to be the one calling the shots. Which I don't imagine that there's going to be no conflict between Rhaenyra and Daemon moving forward about whose butt actually gets to be on the Iron Throne.
I mean, this just proves Rhaenyra right. I mean, last episode, Rhaenyra said, you want my throne and you're untrustworthy.
Oh, it's like, do you recognize me as your queen or something?
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of just proves that Daemon either views himself above Rhaenyra or at least equivalent to her.
I think what we're going to see in the future is a determination of, like, what does Daemon love more? Is, like, the crown or Rhaenyra? And we'll see how this comes into play moving forward.
I mean, so far he's chosen Rhaenyra. He remember he placed the crown on his brother's head.
Right.
I don't know. I really hope that Daemon makes some better decisions moving forward. But he has guilt, obviously, from his past decisions.
Yeah, he's showing remorse because of that dream that he has in Harrenhal when he's sleeping there. Because, oh, what a creepy dream.
And they brought back Millie.
I love that they brought back Millie Alcock. She was fantastic. She, in the short amount of scenes that she had, like, she really proved herself to be a phenomenal actress. Like, the way that she developed that relationship with Paddy Considine, Viserys, like, really made you believe the love that was shared between the two.
Yeah.
And
hard for younger actors, too. I mean, you mentioned in the first scene that you weren't sure about the acting.
Yeah.
Never once did I question Millie.
But how old is Millie, is what I'm wondering. I feel like she's one of those, like...
Probably 19.
I feel like she's one of those little grandpa things where she looks younger than she is.
Yes, yeah.
She's 24.
Oh, dang, okay.
Yeah, I was like, sometimes I get confused, because, like...
Really wants to be, like, 18.
It's the same thing with, like, what's his name? Howland Reed? Is that it? No, the son.
Oh, Howland Reed's son, the Reeds. He just looks like a child.
Yeah, but he's like 30.
Yeah.
Which great
But
genes,
I thought that when Millie is sewing out the head, she turns to Damon and goes, "Here I am, always cleaning up your messes." To me, that did not show remorse for the child and the beheading of a child. In my opinion, Damon feels bad about putting Rhaenyra in this situation. He doesn't care that he killed the kid at all. Like, no qualms.
Yeah, because even in the argument that they were having, it's not like he's like breaking down in remorse. He's just like, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like,
I killed an 8-year-old. Boo-hoo-hoo.
He was like, looking back on it, shouldn't have done that. I messed up. Like, but it's not like he can't live with himself with the guilt. It's almost like he's like,
someone made it. Not me, but someone.
I really messed up my relationship with Rhaenyra. Like, that seems to be almost what he's mourning more than Jaehaerys' death.
Yeah. But you mentioned, when we recorded this whole thing, you mentioned that David is showing signs of paranoia with how he located his room.
Where do you think the coin flips on Daemon? The old saying, like, every time...
I think it flipped when he was 2. Flipped the second he was born. I mean, he wouldn't eat the peas from a Castilian who was already eating the peas. Like,
yeah. He was like, oh, God. There's one... I hate to keep referencing Game of Thrones, but God, that was a masterpiece of a show for a while. When, like, Jon and Mance are eating together, and he's just like, of all the ways I would kill you, poison would be the last. Like, not even in consideration. And it's just like, he can't believe it. He can't believe that that person declared so easily. He can't believe... Which is so simple. It's so odd that Daemon can't understand the simple motivations of revenge. What it's like his driving motivation for almost everything he does.
The whole thing. I mean, it can't have helped his paranoia.
Right.
To wake up from his dream and Alice Rivers is standing there. And when they introduced Alice Rivers, I thought they were going to sleep together. I thought that's why she was introduced.
And if you don't know, Alice Rivers is the lady that was there, the girl that was there when Daemon opens up the entranceway, the one that never gets any names, the one that says that Daemon is going to die in Harrenhal.
Yeah.
Or die around Harrenhal. Like, you'll die in this place.
Yeah, you are going to die in this place.
And she is super important. Like, we're not going to spoil everything that she does, but she is a super important character in the books that you should keep an eye out for, because she is going to have some very interesting relationships, very interesting predictions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just excited that she was introduced in a way that is, I don't know, the show's
creepy. Can you imagine waking up from a dream, you're sleepwalking, and some randos standing there like, you're gonna die here. Like, what?
And this show is doing, I don't know, I feel like this show has not been doing as great of a job of introducing the characters in terms of, like, making the audience understand who they are as Game of Thrones did. But one could argue that Game of Thrones was also a little heavy-handed with the way that they did it.
Yeah.
Like, introducing Jaime Lannister as, oh my God, that's Jaime Lannister, the Queen's twin brother. Like, they're not doing that. But, like, sometimes I'm like, could we get a name? Could we get a name drop?
Yeah.
Could you, like, say this person's name out so that we have...
At least once.
so that we have some way to understand who they are. Like, even the small council scenes, I'm like, and you're what? Who?
Who are you?
Like, I don't... You're a Lannister, I know that.
I mean, he has good one-liners, but I had to really search through 5 levels of wiki to find his name.
Oh, Lord Jasper, yeah.
I also think they could have done better with naming, especially in the first season when they were switching all these actors out and actresses out, and there were age gaps and all this stuff was going on. I really could have used legitimately a Post-it note right there with their name on it and who they
Just a little edit slide over.
Yeah, a little. He's all grown up now and he's jacking off. Like,
yeah. Oh my God. But okay, the next scene is, the memes for this scene have been phenomenal. Where it is Loras talking to Aegon to get him to abandon his dumb plan of flying with Sunfire over to help Kristen Cole's mission, which, like, we don't really, like, see it in the way it plays out, but Loras probably saved Aegon's life here, because I think that Baela and Moondancer are bigger than Aegon and Sunfire. And if they were to actually have fought, it would have actually, no, Sunfire might be bigger because Aegon was born first, like significantly older.
I don't know who would come out in that fight. I'm not putting my bet on Aegon though. Aegon says, I'm as tough as any of them.
Yeah, but oh my god. The memes for that scene, like where it's like like Solaris like whispering, the streets are saying you a bitch. and then it's just like the streets and it's a photo of Lars. Like nobody else would know.
No, Lars' like excited page is just like, quote me on this. It's like, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, this man is like making things up, but he is great at manipulating Aegon. He knows.
Is he great at manipulating?
Yes, because he knows.
He's great at manipulating Aegon, but Aegon is an idiot.
Right, but he knows all of Aegon's weak spots. Aegon's biggest fear is being seen as weak. So if he says anything to make Aegon seem weak or as if he's being puppeted, then he can pull the strings on Aegon. And immediately that's his plan. He's like, what will the kingdom think if you leave for war and all of a sudden it's your mother and your brother like controlling the crown? Like they'll think that they're just going over your head, which is not true at all. Like there's no one that would think that. Like it's not like when Robb Stark went to war, everyone was like, oh, it's Bran pulling the strings. Like that's just like the normal way the hierarchy works. Like it's not that unusual, but like no, he knows how to get under Aegon's skin. He knows how to get Aegon to do exactly what he wants, and he's successful.
I mean, people have been working to try and keep Aegon alive and not do this. I mean, even Aemond was like, don't do it. And now Larys is trying to keep Aegon from not dying as well, probably because he can control Aegon, and he probably couldn't control Aemond the way that he controls Aegon.
Right, because Aemond's aim is interesting. What he wants is so interesting.
What does he want? I don't know what Aemond wants.
Because like the main theory, or one theory that I like, I think we both agree on, is that he's in love with Helaena. But like, what good does this do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. His whole aim of keeping his brother alive is so strange because he seems to have so much to gain from Aegon's death. Yeah.
Like I was Aemond, I'm like, go die, go off.
Yeah, go off, King. Literally.
Yeah, go off, King.
Just go do it. But
you go show them how to die. Like, but I mean, Aemond does say, don't do this, and he listens to Larys.
And as a result of, I guess, like the Kingsguard members are short or something. Aegon.
Oh no, because Eric died.
Yeah, Aegon replaces some of these members with his old drinking buddies.
Fantastic.
And that scene is hilarious. That is an objectively hilarious scene where they're just like, hey, you want to go to the brothel? And then Aegon's like, you've sworn an oath of chastity.
Yeah, that's important, right? Ha ha ha. Like, and it's so clear how the wrong king can just put his own people and infiltrate every scene.
There's actually a really interesting theory. Or I guess not even a theory, maybe just like a noticing that people have made as they've read Game of Thrones, watched Game of Thrones, watched House of the Dragon, all of this stuff, is that the right king can never rule at the right time.
Oh.
Like, for example, Tommen would have been a great peacetime king, but right. Joffrey would have been the perfect king to have dealt with the sparrows.
Very good point.
Like, they're never in the right position at the right time.
The prequel, A Tale of Aegon Egg, ends up being the king during a time when the Targaryens have no dragons.
Right.
And because they have no dragons, Aegon really doesn't have the force he needs to set the laws he wants in motion.
So, like, the only time there's ever a good king is when the king that's in power meets the needs of the realm at that time.
Right.
But, like, so often, at least granted, there would be no conflict to really tell if it was like, let's do the story of Jaehaerys the Conciliator. Like, we wouldn't have that situation. But it is interesting to me that seems to be, like, an active problem.
Right.
In Westeros. Let's see. Anything else that we need to talk about? Oh, yes.
Oh, this scene.
Yeah. Okay. So, they do end up going to the brothel. They do end up going to the bar brothel combo that exists in Westeros. I
think they first go to the bar and then
they're connecting
brothels. They have a second location.
But at the bar, we meet a character named Ulf, who is claiming to be the half-brother of Viserys and Daemon, and introduces himself as the Dragon Seed. And you have some kind of interesting history about the term Dragon Seed and what it means.
Oh, okay. So basically, back when the Targaryens often used to practice the rite of like prima nocta, like sleeping with women on their wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the term Dragon Seed was born until Jacaerys' queen outlawed that. Whether he's a true Dragon Seed, I don't know if I believe it. First of all, he doesn't have the hair. Second of all, Viserys didn't sleep around a lot. I feel like that was definitely not a part of Viserys' personality.
But that next scene, talk about a smash cut from that scene, because he gets, like, Ulf barely scrapes by, thankfully, because Aegon is so drunk that he did not hear Ulf calling Aegon a bastard, because that could have been real bad for him.
Yeah.
The next scene is bonkers. We leave the tavern to go to the brothel, and this man Aegon is a monster, just ripping back curtains, like ruining people's privacy.
And when he was doing that, I was thinking, I'm like, this is illegal. Where are the police? Where are the Kingsguard preventing this man? And then I was like, oh, he's the king. He can do literally whatever he wants.
And I was not, like, I don't think we ever saw anything this explicit in Game of Thrones. Like in terms of, like...
On scenes that could have met this. Or Littlefinger scenes. But no,
But not like the... Okay, not...
No, we don't need to describe it. Move on. In the
last curtain, he pulls it back. And do you think he knew that he was going to find Aemon there?
No, he didn't. I don't think Aegon pays attention to anyone except himself.
Yeah, but oof. So Aemon is with the prostitute that was like his first time ever. And he has developed a very strange relationship with this woman where, like, this is almost like his therapist at this point, where he just goes to for comfort because he doesn't have anybody. Even his own mother is, like, disgusted with him, being like, oh, you know how Aemon is. And
you know what she says, you know what Aemon is.
Oh, yeah, not even.
Like, that's like calling your son an it. Like, I mean, he truly has nobody in his corner except this one prostitute.
And it's just...
And I don't even know if they have sex. He just seems to curl up beside her and cuddle. Like,
and just need some support, some emotional support from somebody, because he doesn't get it from anybody.
Poor baby just needed a therapist.
And I'm just like, oh, if Aemon hadn't done what he'd done to Luke, like, that would have been a big three. Jace, Aemon, and Luke under Rhaenyra, that would have been a big three. Because, like, Rhaenyra could have actually mothered that kid. Because that kid needs some love so badly.
He was bullied really heavily as a child. Yeah. Remember the big scene? Poor baby.
And I think that it's one of those things where it's like, if there wasn't this weird conflict of succession, like, I think that he and Aegon, I think, is a lost cause. I think Aegon would have always been an idiot. But, like, Aemon, and Rhaenyra, not Helena, could have all grown up to be, like, relatively normal kids. Well, Helena has the green seeing or whatever prophecy.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh wait, none of them are normal, and this is weird.
Aemon could have been okay if Aemon hadn't been put in this situation, like, where he was bullied all the time, and there was, like, all of this, like, tension. He probably could have been all right, but there's just nothing going for him. He had no one in his corner. His own dad didn't even care about him. Like,
well, it's so heartbreaking to watch the one place that is his safe space just taken away from him and turned into a laughingstock. And I thought it was such good acting as the zoom in on his face as his brother is just, like, cackling.
Right. Which, why is he trying to protect his brother? What sense of honor is this? Like, what is the benefit that he gets? I don't understand. But
I mean, that's the thing, is I also think Aemon could be a far better king than Aegon.
He definitely would be more logical and reasoned. Like, yeah. Was that, like, Aemon I don't know. Aemon also doesn't know fighting that much, but he's more aware of it than anything Aegon has shown himself to be.
I mean, at least Aemon thinks. Aemon's not going to be at the whorehouse every night.
Yeah.
Aemon's not going to appoint his drinking. Does he even have friends?
Aemon's just not friends.
I mean, he would just I'm not saying he'll be good. I'm saying he'll be way better than Aegon, who's unmitigated disaster and likely only to get worse.
But now, speaking about an unmitigated disaster, we got to talk about the end of the episode, okay? Because what the heck is happening here? So the end of the episode is actually like slowly spoon-fed to us over a series of events that happen. The first being that Rhaenyra is struggling with her council that is trying to urge her to war.
Right.
And Rhaenys is kind of the only person in her corner that's like urging caution. Do not do this. Try to negotiate with Alicent. Try to figure out some way of ending this war, because if these two dragons go to war...
I mean, but there's even that scene where Rhaenyra is standing there, and I think even Rhaenys is like ready for war. I mean, at this point, there's been battles, there's been deaths. Everybody is like, Rhaenyra, come on, let's do something, anything. And instead she goes to go read Alicent's letter, which has been unopened since this moment.
And I think that there is something, I talked about this in the last view, where it's just like, which kings are remembered, but which kings actually did good for the realm, being like almost in like two different categories, where it's like Aegon the Conqueror is remembered because he conquered Westeros. But in terms of like his leadership style, there was still some issues. Whereas someone like Jaehaerys, who ruled longer than Aegon ever did and kept the realm at peace, is not remembered that often. And I like the way that Rhaenys puts this into perspective, where she's just like, the crown that Rhaenyra wears is of Jaehaerys the Conciliator, somebody who reigned even longer and more successfully than Aegon. You would do well to remember that, you know, like, but they just were war.
I don't know. I do agree that Rhaenys and even viewers see her hesitancy as strength. I don't think her counselors see it that way at all. They think she's a weak woman.
And I think it's very interesting where, like, both of these people do not have the right counsel around them.
Ooh.
And
so you think that Aegon should be with the Black Council and they're all just going to go to war?
Well, I mean,
in the Green Council, where they're more hesitant in thinking about it.
Aegon's ideas align more with the Black Councils, whereas Rhaenyra's ideas align more with the Green Councils. And I do think that that's very interesting.
I definitely agree with that. But I really, again, I said this before, I just wish they would make the Black Council a little less two-dimensional. I just feel like they're just kind of bad. And I don't know why Rhaenyra surrounded herself with these men, except maybe that it's her only choice.
I think they're the big guns of her war effort, and it's like it would be a sign of disrespect to not have them there. Like right. They might be the houses in the most support. But Rhaenyra's plan after she reads the letter is that she wants to go and talk to Alicent. And she needs a way in, and thankfully she has an idea, or she gets an idea through Mysaria, who after saving Rhaenyra's life, decides that she is going to support Rhaenyra's cause and serve as her master of whispers.
I think it's a sign of a truly great leader to be able to take someone who's pretty much an enemy to you, and to be able to turn it around and win them to your cause. Mysaria is a character who we know has moral standing, and being able to be behind Rhaenyra supporting her. I'm really excited to see how she already hatched a successful plan in just one episode. It's already borne fruit.
She got there. She got there and she probably gets out. Okay. But
you said this when we recorded this yesterday, but it just feels the plot, the scheme, it seems very Game of Thrones season 7 and 8.
Yeah, it seems very much like we're going to fly over the wall to go get a white and bring it back to Cersei. Like, for what? She's not going to support you anyway. You know, so it's like, what are you talking about? You know,
too much has gone on. The dominoes are already falling. to even right this wrong, I just think it's not really possible. And I mean, hats off to Rhaenyra for, I guess,
for trying. Yeah.
But the conversation went exactly as I expected. I didn't expect Alicent to change her mind at all. I don't know. It also just felt like Rhaenyra was fast traveling to King's Landing. It just...
I mean, yeah, they're trying to move it, and I think it's one of the issues of adapting a book like Fire and Blood, because what do you like? It's not a story. It's not like there's stories within the travels. It's just like accounts,
right, of what happened.
So it's like
scene is not in the books at all.
But Miss Arya reminded me a lot of like Show Varys, where he's very much like, I want the person that's best for the small folk on the throne, and where she's just, I mean, Book Varys is a Blackfire loyalist. I mean, I feel like that's pretty much confirmed. I feel like that's pretty much confirmed. I don't know what else his plan could be. But I like this whole, like, I've seen the work of two monarchs now, of both monarchs, and only one of you showed mercy. So I think that I want to serve the one that showed mercy to someone of no rank like me.
Right.
And I think that was a good reason. But again, we talked about it. This plan between Rhaenyra and Alicent having a conversation is ridiculous. But what is the outcome? What could the outcome possibly be, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think Alicent is, even if Rhaenyra had changed Alicent's mind, what is Alicent going to do?
Right, she's not even in control of her council anymore.
Criston Cole has run off to war. Her brother's off to war with him. They're marching on Harrenhal as they speak. I mean, Alicent can't stop them.
Like, could you imagine Alicent shows up to the council after the conversation? So this was like, crazy story, guys.
It's not the king anymore. Rhaenyra's here.
My God. So remember how I told you that Viserys said Aegon should be king? That's on me. Whoopsie daisies.
Yeah, my bad, y'all. All this is for nothing. I mean, even if Alicent realizes Rhaenyra is correct.
And she knows, dude. She knows she messed up. That face that she gave when Rhaenyra's like, no, that was the story of, like, Aegon the Conqueror. You know, like, that's not, like, even when she's like, the Conqueror, like, she just, like, her mind is breaking. But what is she gonna do? It's over. Like,
yeah. I mean, she didn't even want Criston to march off to war, and he's already doing it against her will. So there's nothing she can do. I mean, she's the one that looked at her whack-ass son and said, he's the one. He's the prince that was promised.
Right,
I mean,
prince. Could you imagine?
Man.
Could you imagine this man trying to stop the White Walkers?
I mean, he's just kind of a loser. I mean, she looked at her loser son and was like, he's the one. And
he's the one.
we're all just watching her like, girl, no.
Just like, oh, God. Anyway.
I liked that Alicent and Rhaenyra got the chance to talk, I guess. I don't know. I support their friendship, or at least their relationship. I think it's interesting.
But
I didn't think anything was going to change.
The only person that walks away with anything from that is Rhaenyra, where she's just like, I know that my dad didn't betray me in his last moments. Like, which, I don't know, this is so much on the gender politics of the realm, where, like, for his entire life, Viserys is like, Rhaenyra should be queen. Rhaenyra's after me. Rhaenyra's after me. Rhaenyra's my successor. Don't forget, I am going to limp into the throne room, dragging my half-dead body to go sit on the throne and proclaim Rhaenyra once again as the heir.
Yeah.
And then that same night, I'm going to change my mind. Give me a break. But they all just want a male on the throne. So it's like anything that supports that agenda, the small folk, or that the people are just on board. The lords that had to bend the knee to Rhaenyra, immediately, promise broken, we're going with the guy. You know, just like, it's sad. It's sad that it's come to this, but, like, there's nothing else to do. Now Rhaenyra has to get in gear for war.
Yeah, this has put Rhaenyra in a spot where she's put no more breaks. She knows that her father meant for her to be queen. She knows the Greens are not going to stop. She's done waiting.
Do you feel guilty? If you're Rhaenyra, do you feel guilty going into this war? Or do you feel like, nah, now we're done, we're fighting, and I don't care what happens to any of you?
I'm sure it's both. I'm sure she feels guilt that thousands of people will die, but I think she believes in herself. She knows she should be queen. And now she's going to go after that with all the blood and fire she can muster.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we know how the story ends. We know how Game of Thrones starts. We know that there's no more dragons. We know that,
I don't know how Game of Thrones ends.
I mean, unfortunately, we have an idea.
Didn't happen.
We're never gonna get When's the Winter Dream of Spring.
Cringing.
But anyway, next episode is likely going to be one of the first major battles of the war. We're gonna see how that goes, who that favors, either the blacks or the greens. We here on this review are Team Black all the way until the blacks do something atrocious, and then we might have to reevaluate. But
I mean, they killed a child, and we're still super pro Team Black.
Yeah, well, you know, we're not pro Team Damon though. If Damon dies, I'm fine with it. You know,
I love Damon. What are you talking about?
I'm pro Damon.
Character of the show.
Yeah, but I'm not pro him. I'm not pro his policies. But anyway, if you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, I have my Twitter in the description box. I also have my Twitch in case I ever decide to stream. Not sure if I'm going to be doing them more on YouTube though. We'll see. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out our episode 1 and 2 review if you haven't already. And until next week, peace out. What do you got anything you want to say?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. See ya.
If this recording doesn't save, I'm done. I don't care.
Done. All right. Okay. See ya.
Bye.